This is the Venture Capital Fast Lane. I am your host, Ryan Else, managing partner of Roadster Capital. In the Venture Capital Fast Lane, we will talk about all things fast in venture capital and everything that surrounds it. If it's fast, we're going to talk about it. Growth, exits, funding, cars, rockets, data, software, and much more. We are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. So buckle up. This is the Venture Capital Fast Lane. All right, welcome to the Venture Capital Fast Lane. Today, we're going to be talking with Ahmed Omar, and he is the co-founder and CEO of, is it Audigo? Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Audigo. So he has been an entrepreneur for the past 9 years and worked at Aviva LLC for a while as a director of e-commerce, where he generated about $50 million year over year growth. And during his time there, he also contributed to other pieces of the business to ensure some of their success and growth. But you've now gone off and started a new business called Audigo. And I remember, Ahmed, when you and I first met. So I want to say welcome to the Venture Capital Fast Lane. It's great to have you on the show today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I remember the first time you and I first met. You had reached out to Roadster Capital and you submitted a pitch deck on our website. And I was going back through my email, and that was January 16th of 2021. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. So that was awesome. You were pitching at the time an e-commerce car parts platform that was based in Saudi Arabia, if I recall correctly. Is that right?
Yes. We were based in 3 countries: Egypt, Saudi, and Dubai. Yeah, and UAE.
And UAE. Yeah. So
yeah.
I was really compelled because, I like all things that go fast, and that's why we now started this podcast. And anything car related, anything in the automotive space or mobile is interesting to us. So it was always kind of a thought that perhaps we would try to make some investments in companies that were associated with cars. One company that came our way a while back ago that we weren't able to invest in just because we weren't prepared at the time. It's a company called Rally Road, and they are car related in that they sell fractional shares of everything from art to cars. And I just thought that would be a really great company to take a swing at. They've actually done pretty well over the years, but they have not done what you're doing, which is make an incredible pivot. And what we want to talk about here on this show today is your original approach for the company that you first pitched us, and how you are now pivoting to a Web3 approach, and what you're going after, and how you will transform your business, as well as talk about some of these great successes that you've had. Because not long after talking with me, I made some introductions for you to a guy in London. I think was an ex-Goldman Sachs / angel investor guy. He probably never even got back to you. I didn't know him that well. And then I introduced you to some people that were going to be at an investor conference at the Palm Jumeirah, I believe, in Dubai. I'm not sure if you made it to the event or not. But yeah, why don't you give us some background on how you found us, how you came to understand what we were after, and some of the early success, because you had some pretty great success. You got into Y Combinator, right? And then you had some success with 500.
Yeah, I'll tap into this a little bit. I'll start like giving you a highlight of how everything started with me. I think, I was born and raised in Dubai. There was basically nothing there back in the days, and I grew up being fortunate to join the fighting career, mixed martial arts, at the age of 14 years old. And I did MMA for maybe 7 years, 6.5 years, 3 gold medals, played in Cage Warriors, came on Sky Sports, on TV a couple of times, played internationally and competed internationally. So I did that for 6.5 years. And the reason why I actually stopped mixed martial arts is really interesting. I saw we were selling power banks in our like during grad school. We're just trying to make money to support our athletic career, because it was hard to we needed a lot of money, nutrition and everything. So yeah, I saw this girl running to her purse, opening her purse and pulling out the power bank that we sell. We had a brand, and plugging it in her phone quickly before it goes off. At this point, I realized that I just solved another human's problem, right? And that gave me a better feeling than winning a match and taking $10,000-$20,000. I'd never thought that feeling existed, because the best feeling I had was winning the match, right? Because I was an athlete. And yeah, at this point, I realized that I think tech is I think if I want to solve people's problems, tech can be the biggest thing to scale this feeling, so I can reach more people. And that was my passion. I started basically working. I went to New York, started hustling, started looking for jobs, saw a small company, Aviva, that you talked about. They had zero presence online. They had nothing. So I built all their e-commerce infrastructure. They were doing $2 million a year. 3 years later, they were doing more than $50 million a year. Today, they're making over $300 million a year in sales, just from the e-commerce that I set up for them. Before that, they were a brick and mortar business, a very traditional company. And yeah, so after this, during that time, I was back and forth through Egypt. So back in 2018, between 2018 and 2019, at the end of 2019, I met my co-founder. Between mid 2019, I started the marketplace, basically selling car parts.
Right.
Because there was nothing there. There was nothing in Egypt or Dubai or Saudi Arabia. That there was no database on Google that had car parts. I thought there was, but when I looked, there was no. And one of my friends had his own startup, and I was helping him through a startup, and he was selling used cars. So I'm like, yeah, just buy. Why don't you just buy the parts online? And one of his customers called and said, I have a used car, but I don't want to buy a used car. I want to buy parts. Do you guys have parts? And yeah, that was where Odigo was born in 2019. And yeah, raised a small pre-seed fund, 130,000 from an angel investor I've never met before. Just looked at me, trusted me, gave me the money. We talked a little bit, and then yeah, we started building a platform. December 19, went out of funds. But we had the platform built, but no money to promote it or to grow the supply side or the demand side. So yeah, and then COVID hit in 2020, but it was a little bit of a rough time. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we had
rough.
two
It was
options.
so rough. It was rough for us out here too. Were you in? Where were you when COVID really came down?
When COVID hit, we were in Egypt. We were only in Egypt, and we started talking to. I think I ran over 20 meetings a day trying to raise for the company, and no one wanted to fund a marketplace selling car parts in the Middle East. We were making 25% growth month over month, and no one wanted to give us money. And yeah, but we still refused to give up, I think, and we thought there's still potential, there's still growth, and we kept growing. We kept just bootstrapping. Maxing out our credit cards, finding ways to grow organically. And yeah, we started building. I think by August 2020, we raised $600,000 from an angel investor. And then by April 2021, we raised about $2.5 million, between $2.5 to $2.8 million from various investors, including Y Combinator, 500 startups, Plug and Play. The 3 top world accelerators came at the same time, which was kind of very rare to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really rare. That's very rare, because you don't usually see P&P or Plug and Play in the same company that YC is, and then C 500. It's kind of an anomaly, because
yeah,
Plug and Play, they ask for a good chunk of ownership in your company when they invest. I know Saeed Amidi. He and I are both on a board of a company at Menlo College together, where he and I both went for undergraduate college. And I've known him for a really long time. But yeah, I didn't even really know that you were tied to Plug and Play earlier on. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So but we I think they saw. So you know, most founders say things, right? A lot of founders promise, sometimes over promise, sometimes under promise, but a lot of founders say things. I think it was for the first time that they actually see it in numbers. We had 50% growth period for 22 months consistently. We never stopped growing. We always knew what to do to keep the company growing. We knew how to manage team. We had almost 25 people on the team. We raised 2.8 million. We started having 100 people on the team, shipping 15,000 items a month to 3 countries around the Middle East, managing a huge operation. The average order value wasn't that low. It was like $100. So 15,000 items was almost $1.5 million. We had $100,000 in monthly revenue, $13.8 million in run rate, in yearly run rate. But yeah, we came into YC, and that was the biggest highlight, I would say. And YC was YC indirectly. So YC never tells anyone to pivot, or they never tell anyone anything, but they kind of open your mind a little bit. And we as founders, me and us, we always wanted to have, we always had a bigger vision, but the vision did not align with the business model. And that was something that was always there. For us to be 10 billion, $100 billion company, we can't be a car parts business. It will never happen. And we're not building a $100 billion company, $100 billion company, $300 billion company, but we believe we want to solve a bigger problem to impact a billion people. And that could never happen with selling car parts. And that was always at the back of our mind. Subconsciously, when we came into YC, we started noticing that this is obvious. I think also we spoke to a lot of partners. They saw how unique we are in terms of founders, in terms of execution, in terms of executing on the vision we promised our investors. So at this point, we realized that because we're in the wrong location and we have the wrong industry, we are not going to do the impact that we have in our ambitions. And that was where we decided. Yeah.
At that point in time, you know, where was the company domiciled?
The domicile of the company was Dubai, the UAE. We're in 3 countries. Yeah.
So that makes it really difficult for a lot of US based funds to invest because of, you know, associated tax implications, and how you report the value and outcomes. So when you applied to YC, was that a problem? Like, did someone like Paywall reach out to you or someone on his team and say, "Oh, this is a problem," or we have invested or have not invested in Saudi company, or how did that?
No, so the domicile of the company was always Delaware since April 2019.
Okay,
it was always Delaware, yeah, since April 2019. But the thing is, the main headquarters that we always advertised and to PR companies was Dubai, because that was the headquarters managing all countries, Egypt, Saudi, and UAE as well. So, but yeah, it was always Delaware. And I don't think the issue was investments, because we were getting emails. I think I told you that we were getting emails. People wanted to invest $1 million, $2 million. The investment was never the issue. It was about the long-term vision, the 5 to 10 year vision. And this was something we did every 3 months, 3 to 6 months. We meet every 3 months, look at the 10 years. And we always never saw ourselves being there in 10 years, because we knew all the car manufacturers are going to close the ecosystem. They're closing the ecosystem day by day, month by month. So the only way to get out of it is to build our own car, which was extremely, I would say, the odds were extremely against us, specifically in the Middle East, to build our own car. There's not one brand that came out of the Middle East, not because, at this point, it wasn't because of the talent, it was also because of the funding as well. No one would fund a Middle East company except maybe W Motors. That was one company that's selling luxury cars, and they're still raising funds until now. So yeah, so I think it was that was the point where we thought of, we're still in our early 20s. Why not we just pivot, make the hard decision now, and then uh, and never regret it in 5 to 10 years. We use the regret minimization framework that Jeff Bezos always used. So we use it many different scenarios, many different ways. It always led us to us coming to the best place with talent in the world and start building something that would impact a bigger problem, that would solve a bigger problem, that would impact a bigger audience, I would say. So yeah, and we did it. So we're here now.
Good. And so with the original business, that's fantastic. So with the original business, though, you had raised around 2.5 million, let's say, round numbers from investors, and started going. Then you're at YC, and you start saying, "This is a great vision. We can execute on it. It's working. However, it's just not going to be big enough, and it won't be sustainable in the long run, because we see the auto industry changing the way that parts are distributed, the way cars are owned. And I think furthermore, we need to have more feet on the ground daily in Silicon Valley, where we're around a broader group of talent that can help us achieve a bigger vision. So let's put our heads together and come up with a wild and crazy pivot that we can really fight for, that we think can be bigger than anything we'd imagined before. And here you are today.
Exactly. That's exactly what we did. We really respect our investors. We actually like them so much, because at some point we were able to get 12.5 in term sheets, and we only raised 3.5. So at this point, we respected our investors. We talked to them earlier before making any big decisions, and we started executing. We had 100 people on the team. We got our recruitment team. There were 9 people. They worked on hiring those people inside the company to other companies. We placed 85% of them in other companies. That was the smoothest, I would say. We had very good talent, so it was really easy for us to place them in other companies. And then within 4 months, everyone that we fired was employed in other companies or startups in the Middle East. And at this point, we were kind of suspending all the legal entities in those countries and basically making the transition to move here. And we're also working on the new pivot. The crazy thing is we didn't know what we're going to pivot to. So we didn't have an idea in our mind or something that we would pivot to, but we knew that there will be something there's a lot of holes in the economy and the world that we can fill. And would definitely have a way bigger vision, would be there on the longer term, 5-10 years from now. And yeah, we started executing whatever we had in mind. We started talking to users until we got to what we got to today.
Yeah, so walk us through where you're at today, because it's quite interesting. And all this came about after you presented at YC Demo Day, right? Demo
Day was 31st, as I remember, in August, I think, 31st of August. So about August, September, something like that. 2 months later, we took the decision. Actually, a month and a half. And then we started executing the decision. And we were here in the US and in the Bay by the 25th of December.
That's insane. I mean, so some of your investors must have been freaking out, and others must have been saying, holy shit, this is incredible. I can't believe you guys are going to go after something like this. Let me double down if I can.
Yeah. One of them actually believes in us so much, and he said, you know what, I was raising the syndicate for your pivot. I told all the investors that you guys are going to pivot, and they still said they want to invest in you guys because they believe in how you execute more than anything else. So yeah, they gave us about 500K, 400 to 500K USD again in the bank account. And yeah, we have enough runway now to build a proper product. Although we're going to start a new fundraise soon, because everyone wants to invest. I think a lot of people wants to invest in the business model we came to. So what happened is we saw a lot of holes in the current ecosystem. I would say, like the current internet. I would say we didn't look at Web3 or blockchain. We didn't even look at any of these things. We looked at the problem we wanted to solve. And one of the problems that we had was 20 years ago, access to information was free. And then 10 years ago, all the companies started having the first page of Google. All the press companies, media companies started having monopoly on the first page of Google, right? And now they went back into making you pay to get access to this information. So internet became free 20 years ago. 10 years ago, started to be 1.5% of the people used to pay. We used to hit paywalls on the internet, like the Bloomberg subscription or Forbes subscription that you hit daily. 117 million people hit paywalls on the internet today. And yeah, we started researching this, but we don't like to live in our brain so much. So we launched a publishing blockchain platform that will help authors and content creators and writers to publish their materials on the blockchain, their text materials, right? Their text PDF or textbooks or books or ebooks on the blockchain. So we started with this. We started helping them build communities, and we started talking to a lot of users. Now we started seeing the problem of paywalls, the people having to hit paywalls or having to pay Forbes, Harvard Business Review to access this kind of content, or paying $1 a month or $6 a month, to access certain kind of information. So it came back to having a worse user experience. So we thought of with blockchain, it's beautiful because there's so many things you can solve by just putting traditional businesses on the blockchain, in terms of payments, in terms of distribution of assets, in terms of ownership. There's so many things you can solve by just putting any traditional, I would say, any traditional solution on the blockchain. So we thought of, what if you don't need to pay anything monthly, right? You can just access any kind of press and just pay them per activity. You can pay them per time, per word count, per activity. You can pay them cents instead of paying them $6 a month. You can pay them 2-3 cents on every article you read, and so this can be distributed.
So now you're kind of adopting the AWS's pay-as-you-go approach, right? You pay for what you use.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, exactly. But we're putting this into the search, so it's a
blockchain.
Yeah, onto the blockchain. Our goal is to so Web 1 was about read, right? Web 2 was about read and write. Web 3 is about read and write and ownership, right? And we thought, if all those 65% of the people who search on Google never click on any link because they see a snippet that comes out to them, right? That has the answer right away. So this content is built by a creator. This creator is not getting incentivized because Google built a script to just get the content out to the users to make it easy for the user, right? So 65% of Google searches end up with 0. That's about 3 billion searches a day, right? So and no one is getting incentivized other than Google, right? For their ads, their traffic. So they're taking all the traffic on their ads. So we thought that if we're able to empower content creators to build on the blockchain, to put content on the blockchain and help them earn money, then this could be the new way people could search. And down the line, with the ease of blockchain, so for them to access our search engine, they need to connect the wallet. They can connect the wallet, they easily can verify themselves. Once they verify themselves, they can do anything on the web. So they can buy something, they can rent a house, they can rent an Airbnb within milliseconds instead of minutes or hours, because of the way the search works. We connected a lot of AI within the search to make it super easy for users to find now information. But then down the line in the future, I don't think people will look at any screens. They could have a voice, smart, actionable search that could just tell them to book a WeWork in Palo Alto. I'm going there now. So
can you elaborate for us on that AI piece of it? Because I find that really intriguing.
Yeah. So the search. So I want you to imagine, with all the technology, the AI, and the world that we have today, there are still 31 million entrepreneurs that waste almost half an hour a day trying to find information, not wasting it on information, they're wasting it trying to find information. So the way we did it is we basically got a lot of partnerships with many AI companies that we basically find you the most relevant summarized answer that you would like to see as a user. And it's a way that, so the AI understands what you're looking for. It's not getting this keyword and querying it along a big database. It's understanding what you're looking for. It's a long-tailed AI, so mainly 3 words plus or 2 words plus. It will understand what exactly you would need, and it will go and find you relevant information. And not only that, it will also summarize this information. It's like a GPT-2 AI that can help you find information and save so much time finding information. And if this information is paid, it will just act. You will just pay this by the activity you're on the content. So you don't need to go in, get your credit card, try to buy this research, or go subscribe to Bloomberg, Harvard, to 7 other media outlets to get this kind of info. So it's way faster than any other.
Saying it's like GPT-3?
Yes, exactly. So
it's
now
like OpenAPI, like OpenAI API. So are you, are you using some of your own internal AI that you own that is proprietary, or is it sourced?
So I always say that's one of our unfair advantages. Nas, my co-founder, is one of the most smartest people I've ever seen, and we're not using our core. We didn't build our own GPT, AI. We took certain technologies from different companies like OpenAI or Hugging Face, but we built another layer on top of it, a protocol that will basically incentivize creators whenever they access certain content. So we built a protocol also to help us get the most relevant info into a one result. So the way he built it is he used GPT-3 and other modules of AI to populate answers that would 99.89, I think, right most of the time, and they would be the best answers for the users. So we didn't build it all ourselves. This is something we learned from Steve Jobs, right? Never build all the technology by yourself. He always built 10-20% of the core technology, and the rest he outsourced it because he thought that there are way better people in the world that they can't hire. So yeah, we connected a lot of those technologies out there to have a way smarter search for the users. And then down the line, there's a lot of applications that could be implemented to just make it so easy for the users to do anything on the platform. Currently, we're targeting entrepreneurs, tech co-founders, to save them time on any research, or their team time on any research they want to do internally. And then basically we can scale that to the public in the future.
Oh, got it. Okay. Wow, that's quite interesting. So you have a bit of a hybrid tech stack that is outsourced and internal by building on top of what's existing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at the total landscape, where are you seeing yourself positioned compared to other companies that might be in the market?
So there's so it's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say we're the only ones doing that, because some companies are doing only the AI part, the AI text search. Some companies are working on the AI fully in terms of providing this solution to enterprise companies like us. Maybe some companies are also working on the user side, which is very similar to what we're doing. But I would say that the speed of our development is coming is very quick and very relevant to the user. So we're putting a lot of user feedback through the product development to help us build a product that actually solve a problem, to help us build something that people must have, not like to have. So one of the things that my CTO still codes application languages like Swift, basically, is because we believe in the future people are either going to use only audio, which means that they're wearing an AR mixed MR glasses, right?
Right.
Or they're only using the audio on the glasses, right? Or it's fully virtual, so they wouldn't be looking at the screens. And my humble feedback, I think that's why the ads in San Francisco has the iPhone in front of the users' faces. So Apple would come up with a solution saying, okay, now we removed the iPhones, now you can wear glasses, right? You don't need to have a barrier between you and the other person in front of you. So I think, I think in the future, so I think now, if we combine all these technologies together, we can have a way better solution in terms of AI or search or finding relevant products that you would use on a daily basis. And certain activities that you do are just some kind of, it's useless to be done. And by just using the wallet, the identity on the blockchain once can help us. And then in the future have a voice search as well, because voice search is growing really, really fast. This can also make us have an unfair advantage over competition. But currently the landscape is a bit different. Some of them are playing with different, so some of them are decentralized, but they're not a text search. Some of them are just taking Google APIs or Bing APIs or DuckDuckGo. So they're using common APIs out there. Some of them are just doing ad-free. So they're just removing the ads away from the user's eyes, you know. But I wouldn't say they're focusing solely on, and that's why we chose the entrepreneurs, because they're the most people that search for content. Them and their teams are the most people that have the most search and would like to save the most time, because they rather make mistakes or waste time on things that doesn't matter, or take so much time in researching some products. So for me, it's a good example. Like I always give this example to entrepreneurs. Steve Jobs would have not found the colored pixels, right, if he didn't read or access the research made by Xerox, right? If he didn't buy this research, he wouldn't have. We would still be in black and white on the PCs, right? Right. So yeah, I think access to information is critical, and I think it's being locked now on the internet, which we're going back to square one. And even the researchers, the research students, they go make incredible research and still have to pay student loans. They're not getting incentivized. They're not getting any outcome. So from things they spent years on. So I think this will change a lot of things in the future.
Yeah, the paywall is a real pain in the ass, quite honestly. And you're right. A lot of people end up paying, and then they don't even use they don't use the full value of what they've paid for, right? They're not getting a true ROI. They're missing out on a lot of data because they're just not accessing it. I think one of the worst offenders of the paywall, and people are always retweeting their headlines, is Business Insider. I refuse to retweet any of their articles because it's only about less than 2 sentences that you can read before it hits the paywall, and they say, oh, you got to pay to read the rest of the story. And it drives me nuts. So I won't even retweet any of their articles.
Yeah, and 20% of the people who subscribe anyways. So these companies actually need help, because all the traffic they get, 99.98%, 0.89% bounces. So they have a huge bounce rate. They have 60% bounce rate. 43% are non-active subscribers after the first 11 days. 20% of subscriber churn after the first month. 15% after the next month. So their numbers are not great. Users sometimes pay and churn just to access an article, and so their numbers doesn't make sense at all. And I think using a model like ours will make them way more money, and also will solve a huge problem for the users who refuse to put their credit cards on anything on the internet. People are not going to go and put their credit cards on 25 media outlets, right? Paying them $1 to.
So you tie your wallet. So you tie like either a crypto wallet or your bank wallet to your service, and then you access and pay as you go. Then you're playing the game of microtransactions, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
Those microtransactions would be like picking up pennies. They add up fast.
Yeah.
When you have 11 million people surfing the internet looking for something to read or dig into, those microtransactions are going to pile high.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what we call them. We call them microtransactions. And the reason we thought of microtransactions and why it's more possible than before is that some chains are coming out now that allow you to generate over 10 to 20 to maybe even 100 million transactions with dollars, right? Cost of dollars, which never happened before blockchain was there. That means that we could have 100 million transactions happening every minute or hour, and we're paying $1 or $2 as transaction fees, right? And the rest is going to creators or publishers or writers who are bringing content to the world. So yeah, it made a lot of things possible. I would say just we didn't know that. We kept reading a lot, understanding everything. I've been in ETH since 2017, but never like dug deeper than I've ever done in the past few months. We spent almost 8 to 10 hours a day reading, understanding how it works, coding, knowing how Solidity works, Rust works. We had to see how it works, how Rust works on Solana, and it was a lot of work.
So you're really going after a significantly large opportunity in a decentralized environment.
Yes.
Okay. Huh. So what have been some of the what's some of the early traction that you have with what you're working on today?
So I wouldn't call that traction, since we've generated millions of traction, but I would say we have over 1 million words minted in the first few weeks of pushing this out from writers, and now we're in the process of we have a couple of hundreds on the waiting list. So now we're in the process of putting out an alpha for users to use. We got it to work, so the microtransactions are working. So yeah. Okay. This is something that we can show our current investors. So yeah, we got it to work. What we have in our mind, we got it to life. We brought it to life. That's something we're good at. We always bring things to life. We don't just promise. So yeah, we got what I just told you now to life, and now it's in the process of iterating, being better, talking to users, and basically building traction from the user side as well as the supply side. But I think people are going, like the content creators, the supply side for the first time in life. Usually used to be the hardest, the cold start, right? It's for the first time the easiest part. People are coming on the chain and minting right away. And some people minted 500 PDFs that included over 700,000 words without anyone calling them or advertising. We haven't advertised the service. They found us on LinkedIn or organically. So yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and there's a big pain there that could definitely be solved.
Wow. Okay. So can you or are you able to talk to me about your internal discussions around like tokenomics? You sent me some information on that.
Yeah. So part of I think the search protocol that we built is basically it's something like Interledger. It's a way that incentivizes creators, but also can incentivize even readers if they choose to let their device act as a node to the network, right? But what's unique about the token is the staking part of it. It's not a token that people can just swap in 24 hours. It's not staked in a week or two. It's also a way. It's a governance token as well, where people can vote on certain features. So it's an ownership time, right? We can't run the startup like a traditional C Corp company, right? So yeah, we're in talks now with a lot of experts. I studied economics. I always loved economics, and now yeah, I'm using everything I know in economics. But there's a lot of factors that comes with a token, right? It's not just a token. You can create a DAO in minutes, right? But it's not about creating a DAO and a token for the DAO. It's about governing this token, making sure it does not hurt a lot of people. The pump and dumps, how to prevent the pump and dumps, the generic voting, and of course the quadratic voting. How to prevent people from approving certain milestones by just having higher stakes in the ecosystem. So it's a big, I would say, discussion. and most of the people who build, who come up with tokens or crypto tokens and try to solve a problem, sometimes can lose focus from the problem they're trying to solve and focus with the token price. And this is what we don't want to have. So we're currently using traditional or layer 2 or layer 1 crypto coins now, but down the line it should be basically our coin, which we call the activity usage token. So it's a AUT token. So yeah, but for now, I would love if you have any questions about tokenomics or how it's going to work. I'd be happy to answer it, but we're not willing to issue a token, at least I think until the end of this year.
Yeah, I'm still unsure on how you're going to approach that, because you alluded to DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations, and it's a lot of but you're not going to be building a DAO, right? So you're not going to be selling your token to investors who buy tokens in a DAO and put it in their wallet and own the increase in value in those tokens over time. You're talking about having tokens that users utilize in order to monetize their experience, the product that they put up onto the platform, and or to pay for using or accessing content.
Yeah, the DAO, yeah, this is true, but
So
also the DAO.
Will that be pegged to a US dollar? How do you make sure the value is there?
So the value is, that's what I told you about tokenomics. It's not pegged to a US dollar because it's not a stable coin, right? But it has value in utility within the token. But a big part of it, we can't issue tokens to users if we don't, I think. So we will have to go through a DAO. But the idea is not having a DAO or not, or having a DAO, because DAO acts as, at the end, it acts like companies, but in a decentralized way that users are no longer users, they're owners, right? And at this point, they also hold some kind of voting power in the ecosystem. Exactly. So I think we will. So once we issue the token, definitely we will go through a DAO. But the idea here, like the discussions that we're having now, is not should we go through a DAO or just issue a token. It's not this as much as, are we solving a real problem? Are the user going to come back to us? Is the user actually monetizing properly from this ecosystem? What can we do to make it better? How can we make it better daily? So we've answered those questions, and we're going. That's what makes us, I think, faster than competition, is that we're answering those questions, and we have a lot of positive feedback. But it's about giving value to the user. It's about solving a real problem. It's not about building a DAO or issuing a token or having a community. So so once we close this milestone, I think the DAO is going to be the next milestone, along with a big community to support all the next steps that we're going to take. But yeah, definitely the token comes with governance, with protocol in place, with longer staking periods that gives us value. It has max supply. It does have some equity pegged to it from the company. So it does have a lot of value. It's not like a stable coin, but it still holds a lot of governance and utility to the ecosystem and the network.
Yeah, it sounds complicated. It also sounds like there's a lot of future change that you are discussing internally, but clearly within the roadmap of where things are going, it sounds like there's still some things to work out. When I think of DAOs, oftentimes you think of like the one DAO or the Constitution, right? Going out to try and buy the Constitution, but you are not a DAO as of today. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's be clear, everybody. This is not a DAO, but this is an opportunity to truly, I think, empower what's going on in the way of search, right? Empower users, empower creators.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I think to put it quite crisp and clear, you sent me this earlier, is you're really building a new economy of content through search protocols that incentivizes creators and empowers streamers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A new ownership economy, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, new ownership economy. Well, I think you are definitely onto something big here with what you're doing. I'm really grateful for the time to talk to you about this. Let me ask you, what do you think of when you think about going fast? It can be anything.
Breaking a lot of things.
Breaking things, like breaking
Yeah.
people's faces in the ring. What do you mean?
Going fast, I think, is by breaking a lot of things. I think if you want to go really fast, you unintentionally break a lot of things. So in terms of company, I would say we make many mistakes quickly to make sure we get to the solution. So breaking a few things to get to the exact thing that the user would like to have and would love to have, would feel like it's a must have. So yeah, I think it's, when we say fast, it's trying a lot of things and keeping what works quickly, breaking a lot of things. That's what came to my mind. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Fantastic. That's a great answer. So on that note, I think that concludes everything. So that will do it. And I would like to say thank you, Ahmed, for your time. Thank you for driving in the fast lane. And until next time, I'm your host, Ryan Else, and this is the Venture Capital Fast Lane.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for having me. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.